Recording. All right, so today is April 23, 2020. This is a meeting of the Kubernetes Storage Special Interest Group. As a reminder, this meeting is public, recorded, and posted on YouTube. So today on the agenda, we're just going to go over the planning spreadsheet and get a status update, confirm the assignments that we did at the last meeting for our 1.19 release, which is the Q2 release. That's all we have on the agenda. If you have anything else you want to talk about, feel free to add it to the agenda and we'll get to it after the planning. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to create a column for today's status updates. All right, so first up we have CSI online offline resizing. I'm actually going to change screens. Hang on. Okay, can everyone still see my screen okay?
Yeah.
All right, cool. First up, we have CSI online offline resizing. Hemant or Ben, do you want to give an update on this?
Yeah, so we had a meeting last week and I'm going to schedule a meeting tomorrow as well. I was looking for empty slots and we're just having a bunch of feature discussion meetings. So we have a PR that Michelle is reviewing for updating the CSI spec and other changes. Then we have a bunch of discussions in progress about recovering from Resize failure, where we largely have achieved a consensus. Then the next week we have, I think I'm going to give the status for other items on as well. That's why I'll probably stop, but yeah. And then we have another item for that we don't call the, sorry, we don't call volume expansion. We don't check for offline capability when we call expansion from external resizer. For that, there's a CSI spec meeting next week, 29th. I will add it to the agenda. And the consensus so far that we have achieved is that to relax the wording in the CSI spec to change shall to should and do a best case check in the external resizer about volume is in use or not. And then we have a read-only expansion issue, and I think that will be that is something we'll discuss tomorrow. And we have a solution, but yeah, we'll discuss it tomorrow. So that's where it is.
Okay. All right, so yeah, there's a lot going on here with the volume expansion for CSI, and there's been at least 1 or 2 meetings already to discuss the existing issues, and looks like there's going to be some follow-up meetings. So if you're interested, please attend those. Next up, we're going to get a status update on the storage proxy for Windows for CSI. Deep or Jing, are either of you on the call, or is anyone on the call able to give a status update? Maybe KK?
So if Deep is not here, I can give update.
Sure.
So yes, we have CSI Windows meeting every Friday, and last Friday we kind of list the plans, right, all the tasks for moving CSI proxy to beta. And there are a number of tasks, and we roughly assign the tasks among a few people we have in the group. And right now, me and Deep and Mark and Kaya from Microsoft. And right now, I'm more focusing on the proxy and the driver build and the release. And also, we need help on like a testing part to have like E2E test for different components, right? We have CSI proxy, we have node driver registrar, and we also have different drivers. So if anyone wants to join us, please do, and I can send you the meeting invite.
Thank you, Jing. And anybody on the call who's interested in helping, this might be a good place to start contributing. If you're interested, please reach out to Jing or Deep and they can get you started. Next up, we have snapshots fixing issues. We're keeping snapshots in beta this quarter to address the existing issues. Xing, do you want to give an update here?
Yeah, so we have been making bug fixes. So we have already cut a 2.1, but then there is some Xiangchen discovered some bugs, so he fixed that, and we're going to cut another release for that. And then Michelle and Grand also fixed some CI issues, so we'll be cutting a release shortly for that, and then continue with bug fixing. So still staying in beta in 1.19.
Cool.
Oh, and also I think Michelle sent out email to the mailing list to SIG Architecture about this deployment, how to deploy snapshot controller. So we need to have some guidance from them.
Yep, that's an important issue to resolve. Anyone here who represents a distributor of Kubernetes, this is an important problem. As Kubernetes becomes more and more extensible, the components that are core are no longer shipped as part of the core binary. So for example, Snapshot has a standalone controller that needs to be installed in order for volume snapshots to work. And distributors of Kubernetes are responsible for deploying that controller. If you have a storage vendor that wants to install a Csi driver, they can install the Csi driver, support snapshots, but as long as that controller doesn't exist, the snapshot functionality is not going to work. It's up to the distributor of the Kubernetes installation to deploy that controller. And this email that Michelle sent out to SIG Arch is kind of asking, how do we do that in a consistent way to ensure that all these distributors are actually bundling and deploying these controllers that we're adding that are no longer part of the core binaries. All right, next item is non-recursive volume ownership FS group. Hemant, do you want to give a status on this? I guess last status was complete.
Yeah, we shipped this feature as alpha feature in last release. We are planning to move it to beta in this release.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so we'll keep moving then. Next item is vSphere CSI migration.
Yeah, I can give an update. So Debian is working on this. He has started working on adding this flag and also doing some prototyping. We're also looking at how to enable CI for this one. We do have one question though. So this, Michelle, so this question is for you. So this needs to have a public CI for beta. But the problem for us is, so if we are running this on the cloud, we would have certain features depending on certain new feature vSphere that is not released yet. So we're wondering if we can like run in those internally and publish results.
I think that's fine too.
Okay.
I think we just want to see, like, I think it's more about public results rather than actually running the CI in a public forum.
Okay, yeah, that would be easier. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you, Xing. Next item is Azure CSI migration. Do we have Andy on the call for a status update on this?
I synced up with Andy last week, and he said this is on his radar to move to beta in this release. And
Cool,
I've
thank you.
already seen a PR from him to fix some bugs and stuff.
Perfect. All right, next item is recovering from Resize Failures. Hamant, I guess you gave a status update on this up above.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, we seem to have a consensus. I know Jing had some concerns. I have pinged her offline. I know she's in call now, so I can talk to her offline and see if we can talk tomorrow in the call, or I can talk with her offline or discuss this. So yeah.
Do we need to track these two as separate separate items, number 2 and number 8?
Number eight has a cap to it, so that's why it is separate item. Number 2 has some PRs open, and they don't necessarily need cap or enhancement, but yeah, that's why it is separate for now.
Okay, that's fine. Let's just go ahead and move them together. Oops. All right, next up is SE Linux recursive permission handling. Last status update here was there was a KEP open, and we're going to move this to 119. Any progress on that since?
Not really. I created an issue for enhancement, and that's it. The KEP needs review, and I need to ping the reviewers.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Jan. Next item is file permission handling for Windows. This was punted to this quarter as well. Any updates on that?
So right now we didn't do much about it because it doesn't cause, there's no, like currently there's no issues, but we want to kind of get some expert in Windows and to understand deeper really this area. I think especially in the future, if we want to investigate how to share data between Linux and Windows, and then there will be probably become issue. So yeah, right now, no update yet. Yeah.
Okay. We'll put you down, Jing, as the reviewer here. Thanks, Jing. Next item is file permission handling in projected service account volumes. Any updates on that? Okay, we're going to mark that as no update and get a status update next time. CSI entry read-only handling. I believe Humble reached out to me offline to find out more about this. I don't know if he's on the call.
Yeah, I'm here, Saad. I'm audible.
Hello. Hey, yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm yet to start on it, Saad. Didn't manage to go through the issue in detail, but we'll take a look at it and update the next call. I need some more time.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Humble. All right. Next item is issues related to assuming volumes or mount points. Last status update we had here was Andy has a PR out, but the had some backwards compatibility concerns. Michelle, do you know if there's anything new here?
So Andy has refreshed the PR, and it's probably ready to merge. But actually, there was a new email sent out by SIG release, asking all the SIGs to very carefully consider any changes in 119 that might require an action required release note. So I think that's something we need to potentially think about and balance if we think this fix is going to fix enough issues to potentially, but on the downside, potentially break some CSI drivers.
Got it. Okay, so it's possible we may end up holding off on the fix until the next release.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think, yeah, we still need to sort of evaluate the trade-offs, because I think this assuming things are mount points have been causing more and more issues.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't think it's a straightforward yes or no answer.
Okay. All right, we'll keep an eye on that. Next item is storage pools, storage capacity tracking. Patrick, are you on the call?
Yeah, I'm here. I think we just had a very productive design meeting where we agreed that we want to move ahead for 119 with storage capacity. We have one key question that we need to figure out around the API, but some way we'll move forward with that one way or the other. And for the related issue about inline volumes, we also decided to move ahead with something that is a bit more generic, a new design for inline volumes, where we have some persistent volume claim inside the pod spec, and we will create a separate persistent volume claim object from that, and then use the normal provisioning. And that will nicely integrate with the storage capacity tracking that we would plan to add. And these two things are something that we can hopefully have as alpha in 119.
Awesome. Thank you for all your work on that. Next item is volume group API. Xing, any updates on that?
Not really. I need to update the cap and then schedule a meeting to
Okay.
discuss.
All right, next item is the CSI drivers. We've got NFS and iSCSI first. Both of them we want to do image building, testing, CI/CD documentation, and so on. Michelle, any updates on that?
Sorry, I lost track. Which item was this?
This is for the NFS and iSCSI CSI drivers.
Okay, so NFS is in good shape. We have released a new image of NFS. The iSCSI one, I need to follow up with the folks that were volunteering to help with the iSCSI driver. And then for the deprecated ones, Fiber Channel and Flex, that is on me to just do. So I'll try to find some time in the next month to deprecate these.
Okay, sounds good. All right, thank you, Michelle. Next item is.
Yeah, so I think you can treat the NFS as done.
NFS is done. Okay. Awesome, glad to hear. And do we have CI/CD and documentation as well?
We have unit tests for NFS, but not E2E tests. It's still manual testing there. So, but I think we can just track that as sort of future improvements.
Sounds good. All right, cool.
But the docs are there. Yeah.
Perfect. So if anybody wants to give it a shot, go out and try it. I'd like to see folks move over to the CSI driver instead of the old manual provisioners if possible. Speaking of the manual provisioner, so there is a effort to deprecate Kubernetes Kubernetes Incubator altogether, including the external storage repo. This old external storage repo contained a number of provisioners and other miscellaneous projects that we were working on. So we need to move out anything important that we have before we deprecate this old repo. The three things that we've identified so far are the Gluster FS provisioner and the two NFS provisioners. And Humble and Karen are working on moving those out into their own repos. Let's start with Humble on the Gluster FS provisioner. Humble, any updates?
Yes, sure, Saad. Yeah, so last week I filed the new proposal and got it approved on Kubernetes SIG repo, and the repos are available now. I also filed a draft PR with the migration code. A few more things to fill in the PR, like adjusting the build script, etc. I'll continue on it and get it done soon. So we are good at the moment on this migration part.
Awesome.
I'll spreadsheet with the details soon after this call.
Cool, good progress. Thanks, Humble.
No.
I'm going to mark that as started. And then on the NFS provisioners, is Karen on the line by any chance? He is not. As I understand it. Oh, yeah, go ahead, yeah. Humble. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So he got the draft PR. I think he's still working on the build and other things to be, on the PR. It is not in a shape to merge it, but they are working on it. But the repo is available and the draft PR is available for the migration. Yeah.
Cool.
That's what it is.
Awesome. Thank you for that update. Next item is deprecation of Kubernetes Incubator external storage. So this is pending completion of tasks. So if you are someone on this call who cares about some other project inside external storage repo, please flag that as soon as possible, because as soon as the 3 identified tasks above complete, we're going to deprecate this repo because we haven't heard of anything else that needs to be transferred out. If that's not the case, please let us know as soon as possible. Next item is co-owned between us and SIG apps, volume expansion for stateful sets. Last status we had here was Ken Owens from SIG apps may be interested in working on this. Any new updates?
This is KK here. So I pinged Ken, but it is like today. So I haven't gotten response yet, and I have also not spent time on it, but I'm still on point and would work on it in the coming weeks.
Perfect. Thanks, KK. All right, next is co-owned between us and SIG-Arch. It's mostly a requirement from SIG-Arch to us to go and do this. We have the mount the mount library that we split out from the Kubernetes repo and moved into the Kubernetes util repo. And now the suggestion is to move it out into its own repo. I believe the current proposal is that we're going to move it to Kubernetes staging. Michelle, any updates on that?
I think we just need, well, I guess first thing is we should probably talk to SIG architecture with a proposal to move it to staging, see if they're okay with that. And then if so, we need to find people to work on it.
Okay. So if anybody on this call is interested in helping with this, please let us know. This is a major project. It's the core mount code that is used by all of Kubernetes and many, many Csi drivers. So it's extremely important, critical work. If you want to get your hands dirty with code, this is the place to do it. So if you're interested in volunteering to work on this, please reach out to me or Michelle or Jan, and we can, or Shing, and we can put you in touch with the right people. Next item is volume snapshot namespace transfer. We wanted a design for this quarter. Is Mike on the call by any chance?
Yeah, I'm here. Unfortunately, no update this time, but the next step is to have a design review meeting, and I just have to prepare for it.
Okay, no worries. Cool. Sounds good. Thanks, Mike. Next item is CSI volume health. Last status update here was there was development of an agent, and they were waiting on the CSI spec changes, which were in progress at the time. Shing, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, so the CSI spec got merged, and Nick has updated the PR. So I just started reviewing it.
Cool. All right, thank you very much. Next item is generic populator data source. Ben, any updates on that? Looks like Ben's on the line, but he might not be available.
So sorry, I'm here. I couldn't get it unmuted.
No worries.
I am working on a update to the design for this. It's we need a design that addresses, in particular, how to handle the error conditions. That's the big remaining issue. When someone requests something that won't be successful, how do we let them know?
Cool. Thank you for that update, Ben.
Saad,
Yes.
are you sharing the right screen?
Um,
I think the spreadsheet's still set to like the top of the page.
sorry, what do you see?
That's what I see too.
Yeah,
The
see row number-
spreadsheet is like at row number 1. Oh, here we go.
There.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somehow I paused sharing. I'm not sure how I did that. Okay, so you can see my screen okay now?
Yep.
Yes, thanks.
All right, cool. So we're down here on number 30, which is Object Storage API. Jeff or John, you want to talk about this?
Hi, yeah, this is John. We're continuing the weekly review meetings to refine the API. And I need to post the recording from yesterday's meeting.
And I mean, we'd like to shout out to the SIG Storage that we are holding weekly kept review meetings, and we would love to have anyone interested at all in this attend and give us your input.
Maybe we should have the meeting invite moved to the official calendar.
Yeah, sure, I can do that.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Is your time fixed now? Seems to be changing a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be seems to be working for us right now. So I think we'll leave it at 12:30 Central.
Okay. Thanks.
I think the only thing we need to figure out is to make sure there's no other conflicting SIG storage meeting at the same time. There might be.
I think it was happening at the same time as the CSI implementation meeting. I see that you guys moved it half an hour later. So yeah, so then that should be fine, I think.
Okay, yeah, I didn't realize we had a run-in with that. So barring any conflicts with the SIG storage, we're good.
Okay, let's figure that out offline. And thank you, Shing, for offering to help with that.
Where do we find the official calendar for the SIG storage SIG meetings?
If you go to the community page for SIG storage, there should be a link to the calendar.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Next item is co-owned with SIG apps as well. This is to address the issue with PVCs not being deleted after stateful set is deleted. Last update here was that Dave was interested in helping work on this. Shing, do you know if he's still interested in that?
I haven't heard from him. I need to check with him again.
Okay. And another SIG apps co-owned, SIG node co-owned item is execution hook. Shing, do you want to give status update here?
Yeah, so we had a meeting with Tim to get his feedback. And so now we have a more general proposal to add a pod inline definition, and then have another API to request this container notification called container notifier. So I sent an email to SIG node and also SIG auth trying to get some feedback, but haven't really heard much. There are some comments on that Google Doc, which we have our draft API. Thinking probably we need to go to one of their meetings to bring this up, get their attention. So we did discuss this in our data protection work group yesterday.
Okay. And within at least the data protection work group, is there any concern?
I think there are some concerns about there is a timeout value that now we have that inside the container, not external, not in the request object. So there are some questions on whether that should be in this request object so it's easier to control. That's one question. And then there is also some question on the privilege. So if this is basically if this is even though if it's inside the container, I think usually it will still just run with the privilege that is already assigned to that container. It's not going to elevate it. So if we just follow other hooks like the pre-stop and the post-start hook. So if you really want to do something that needs higher privilege, then probably you need to build a container that has that privilege. So those are the things that we need to think about. But we probably cannot really just give extra privilege because we don't even know what those commands are. It depends on what commands you want to run. Like fs freeze needs some more root privilege, but some other commands, like if you just run sync, it does not need it. So we can't really just elevate that without knowing exactly what the command is.
Sounds like there's a lot of edge cases to consider here.
Yeah.
Thank you for following up on that. And let's keep moving. Next item is CSI ephemeral volumes beta. Patrick.
Yeah, well, I think we have a path forward for making or coming up with a solution for other kinds of ephemeral inline volumes, and that means that we could move forward with CSI ephemeral volumes towards GA, but I'm not sure what we should be doing that. Any feedback? Should we be more reasonable, confident that we get the other ephemeral volumes accepted, or should we go ahead now? I think I'm leaning towards waiting, if that's acceptable.
I think I would agree with that. What do others think?
If someone asks, I think we can always argue that we are continuing work on ephemeral volumes, and therefore keeping it in beta is acceptable, even with that pending cap that says that a storage SIG must continuously evolve their APIs towards GA. I think we are doing that. We just don't need any specific API change right now in that CSI existing API.
Yeah, I think that seems reasonable. So we can mark this as started. There is work going on to figure out the future of this. It just may not be completed this quarter. Okay, next item is generalized ephemeral volume work with the CSI driver. How is that different from number 33?
33 is basically existing API, which is already beta. And the generalized ephemeral volumes is a new API that we just discussed in the previous design meeting, where we have a very tentative cap right now. So I would argue that it started. So 33 is also started. So the cap is pending. I can add to the spreadsheet. Well, do I have? We do have a cap number. You probably want the cap number, right?
Yeah, if you could put it in, that would be great.
Do I have write permission to that document? I'm not sure.
You may not.
Yeah.
But
so the PR is 1701. Cap number, I think the cap is now identified by the issue number, and that is enhancement issue number 1698.
Say again.
1698.
Okay. All right, cool. So we have generalized ephemeral volumes. We have CSI ephemeral volume beta and tentative cap out. And then in terms of priority for these two, what do you think?
Well, for CSI ephemeral inline volumes, I think we just keep an eye on it and we don't do much right now. But it's still important for the next release afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
For the ephemeral inline volumes, I think it's 2. It's certainly a priority for me, and because it kind of blocks it, the other ephemeral volumes, I think, yeah, 2 sounds good.
Okay, that seems reasonable. And then do we want to assign reviewers here as well for the new general ephemeral volume work? Jan, would you be interested?
Sure.
Okay. And then the existing work, I don't know if there's anything going on here. Michelle, would you be the right person for this?
Which one?
The existing CSI ephemeral volume beta. There's probably nothing we're doing here this quarter, but in case there is, want to put someone down as a reviewer.
So
can we volunteer Jan?
The only thing that I expect are really bug fixes, and I'm not aware of any specific one at this time. There might be something, but I don't know.
Okay. Jan, are you okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, moving on to the next item, FS group support in CSI. Comment from Jan here is enhance CSI itself to support FS group, so we don't need to do it in Kubernetes CSI volume plugin.
Sorry, the comment is wrong. I should delete it. What we want in this feature is we want to have a field in Csi driver object, so we know if the storage provided by the driver supports volume ownership or not, because NFS typically doesn't, and yet the CSI volume plugin Kubernetes tries to change users with FS group, and that usually fails and users are unhappy.
So no CSI changes needed, this is just on the Kubernetes side, okay.
Yeah, just Kubernetes side, sorry.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and resolve that comment. And status-wise, is this something started or planned?
It is planned.
Okay.
We started.
And alpha for this quarter or design?
It should be alpha.
Alpha, okay. Priority?
2, 3.
2, I think. It's yeah, affecting a lot of users.
All right, cool, thank you. Next item is immutable secrets and config maps. This is something that SIG Scalability has been asking for. Plan is to move it to beta. We had it in alpha last quarter. And I have no updates on this. I need to follow up and see if they have a PR. Next three items are about CSI migration. I think as many of you are aware, we're planning to remove the in-tree volume code by Kubernetes 1.21 as part of a larger effort within Kubernetes to remove cloud provider specific code from the core of Kubernetes. In order to make sure that we still give users a seamless experience, there's this big library that's been built out that'll automatically shim the existing in-tree drivers out to a CSI driver as long as that CSI driver is available. In order to complete that work, each of the cloud providers needs to go in and write a little adapter that teaches the library how to use the CSI driver specific for itself. And we want to make sure that there's progress being made here. So I would say this is probably P1, honestly, for all three of these. Is GA the right target for these? Or should it be?
These are already beta.
Okay. All right, that's great then. And then in terms
so I
of,
guess the question is that do we want to target GA on 119 for the current beta drivers?
does GA imply on by default? Or can we do GA off by default?
I'm not sure we can do that.
Okay, so are we ready to do an on by default?
No.
Okay. So maybe we should hold off for this quarter then? Leave it in beta?
Yeah, I think there's going to be substantial work needed to get it to on by default. But I think it's important that the providers work towards getting to on by default this quarter.
Okay. So let's target beta, but make sure progress is being made here then. Let's figure out who should be working on these. So for GCE, I think we need to have one of us or someone from our team work on this. We'll figure that out internally. For AWS, do we have a person who's working on this? Is it Cheng?
I don't think Cheng is working on it anymore. It might be Matt.
Okay. And then for OpenStack, do we have somebody working on this? Is anybody on this call interested in OpenStack, the in-tree driver? So I think the plan is that if we are unable to get a migration shim created, we're going to move towards deprecation. The idea being if nobody really cares about this code, then we're just going to remove it. But if there are people that care about it, we'll get folks to build out the migration shim.
Is this for a migration shim for Cinder?
OpenStack Cinder, yes.
I thought Dims was trying to remove the in-tree one, saying this one is already complete. So maybe he might be interested in finishing this.
So Dims was looking from just OpenStack in general.
Okay.
I think there's someone specific looking at OpenStack CSI.
Okay. Was it Andrew or not? Maybe he's also doing this in general.
So is this to implement a CSI shim inside Cinder, or is this more related to the Ember project that provides a CSI driver that enables Cinder storage drivers to be used with OpenShift or with Kubernetes?
The former.
Okay.
So this is not related to the Ember project at all. Okay, so I think it's a TBD. We need to figure out who's working on this. It sounds like there may be somebody who's been looking into it. If that's the case, we'll get that update.
I'll ask some questions and follow up on that one at our next meeting.
And was that John?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, John. All right, I think that is all that we had on our SIG planning spreadsheet. Going back to the agenda, doesn't look like there's anything else that was added by anyone. Is there anything that anybody on the call wants to talk about that wasn't on the agenda?
Saad, one quick thing here. We have work going around. I think Andy is doing the work and Michelle is reviewing it for removing the published paths from CSI. It might be good to track it in the planning spreadsheet just so that everybody who is writing CSI drivers become aware of it. Not really like from a tracking perspective, but at least from an awareness perspective. Michelle, what do you think?
We did talk about it. There is an item about it, there's an item here about mount points.
That covers it, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
That's this one, number 14.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you want to say a few words if you wanted to share more widely what the issue is and what the concern is?
Michelle?
Yeah, so I think the main background is that for this particular PR, I think the main issue is that the CSI spec says that the plugin is responsible for creating the mount path, but Kubernetes was actually mistakenly creating the path. So this PR is trying to correct it so that Kubernetes actually does what the CSI spec says it should be doing. But the main worry here is that plugins have probably adapted to the behavior that Kubernetes was doing, and we risk breaking them with this change.
That's a good call out for folks who have a CSI driver that they've implemented. If you have been depending on the Kubernetes behavior, the existing behavior where Kubernetes creates the mount directory for you, you should correct that and follow the CSI spec, which says that you should not expect that to happen. Check if the directory exists. If it doesn't, create it.
That's the good cases if drivers are checking and only creating it if it doesn't exist.
Right.
Anyone who's anyone who's religiously following the spec would be failing on creation. Anyone who's just relying on Kubernetes to do it will fail after the change.
I'd like to add that if you are testing your driver with CSI test, the test suite that we have for sanity testing, then you already get the correct behavior. The testing will fail unless your driver is spec compliant. So if your CSI driver passes the CSI test sanity tests, then you are safe.
So does CSI sanity test both cases? Test published with directory existing and published without directory existing?
No, the default is to test without the directory existing as required by the spec.
Mm. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So you're saying if you pass the CSI sanity test, you'll definitely pass the new behavior. And
yes,
if you also have a check to allow it to already exist, then you'll work with existing Kubernetes.
exactly. So if you
So,
pass the sanity testing and you work with Kubernetes, you're fine.
Okay.
All right, good call out. Thank you for raising that. Any other questions, concerns about that? Okay, anything else we want to discuss? All right, we got 2 minutes left. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care.